Okay, welcome to this video. In this video, we are talking about sales and specifically how to sell more of your services. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tyler Timonelli. I'm the founder of ScaleLocal.com. I want to start this video by saying that I am not here to say I am an expert at sales. I am this guru that you should listen to blindly. I'm someone who's learning. I'm someone who's going through the process. I've been an entrepreneur for 7 years. I've worked with over 200 clients now who are local businesses, small businesses. We do lead generation, so we generate a lot of the leads for them. And I've walked them through their sales calls and their sales demonstrations to see why they were closing or why they weren't converting into sales. I've done over 1,000 of my own sales demonstrations, and I've done countless calls and countless conversations through text for prospecting and through email for prospecting. So I've done a lot. I've also learned a lot, which I want to recommend some books to you guys right out the gate. I've read a bunch of great books on sales. I've listened to a ton of courses on sales. So my goal with this video is not to be the expert, not to be the guru. It is to put you guys on the right track and help to narrow down a lot of the fluff that's out there and just tell you what's worked best for me. And I'm hoping to be able to point you in the right direction and save you a bunch of time with this video. Okay. So that being said, I want to start by actually talking about books that have really helped me out in sales and in my sales journey. So I have a few books here and a couple other ones I'm going to recommend. So the first one is Spin Selling. This is a great book. Okay. Excellent book. Specifically, this goes into the questions that you should be asking on your sales calls. And if you're not doing calls, if you're doing in-person sales in a local business, then these are the questions you should be asking when you're trying to sell a prospect in your local business. Okay. So Spin Selling, all about the specific questions you should be asking, and sales is all about the questions you are asking. Okay. So that's one amazing book. Another great book is called Fanatical Prospecting. All right, and this is by Jeb Blunt. Anything by Jeb Blunt's pretty good. I've read all of his books. He knows his stuff. Fanatical Prospecting is mainly about prospecting, following up with leads, booking appointments, that task for the most part. The Challenger Sale is another great book, all about helping people on your calls, kind of teaching and having them come to a breakthrough or break a limiting belief of theirs and challenge the current beliefs that they have. You know, and if you can do that, if you can challenge a current belief that they have and make them kind of come to the conclusion that maybe that belief they have isn't that great, then you will get the sale. You will gain more authority. You will be seen as more of an expert, and you will earn that sale from them. So the Challenger Sale, highly recommend. Okay, so there's three. There's two books I don't have with me, $100 million offers. And then that's by Alex Hormozi. That's a really good book on how to structure the thing that you are selling. And then another one is by Tom Hopkins, who he's pretty old school, but I think it's called How to Master the Art of Selling. I think that's what the book is called. It's a great book. It's a little dated, but I would say it still applies to, like, most of the principles still apply to the sales process today. And he talks a lot about language in sales and how important the words are that you say. That's some knowledge right there. There's also a bunch of good online courses. I might drop a few below this video. But that is a great place to start. Okay. Those 5 books have really helped me tremendously. Now, that being said, I have a slideshow that I want to go over with you where I've come up with a framework that has really helped my sales conversion rate go up. And I've also come up with a few different things that you should have for your sales mindset to help you close more deals and help you feel more confident in the sales conversations that you're having with prospects. Okay, awesome. So that being said, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go into the slides. Okay, let's get into these slides. This is the sales training. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is what I call the essence of sales. So at its foundation, at its core, what is sales? If you do not understand that, it's going to be very hard to sell. Okay, so at its core, in my opinion, this is what sales is. I think it is the prospect has a current state, which is what you see here, and they have a desired future. Okay, so this is where they are currently, and this is where they want to be. So they have a goal, right? And what sales is giving them a product or a service that gets them or helps them get closer to their desired future, whatever that is, right? Now, what a good salesperson is able to do is create separation between the two things. Okay. So they create a gap between where the prospect is now and where they want to be. And by creating that gap, you get the prospect to think about things and understand that they need help. Okay. And when they know that they need help and they know that they can't get to their desired future on their own, or that they don't want to wait that long to get to their desired future, then they can look for a solution, or they're open to buying a solution that can help them, right? So how do you create the gap between where they are now and where they want to be? The best way to do that is simply by asking questions and listening. That is the easiest way. And guess what? It actually makes sales a lot easier for you because you don't have to talk as much. A good salesperson is not talking. It's not what you see in movies where you think of, the stockbroker who's pitching the whole time and talking 90% of the time. It's actually the opposite way. The best salespeople I've seen are the ones asking questions and listening, and asking the right questions and listening. Okay. And it's probably the complete opposite way. And I've had way more success selling by just asking questions and listening. Okay. Because when you ask questions, you get people to come up with the conclusion in their own head. And you're not telling them, you're showing them by getting them to understand it in their own head. And when they understand it and they feel like they came up with that conclusion on their own, they will be way more convinced that your solution is the thing that they need. This is actually a Tom Hopkins quote. It says, "If I say it, they tend to doubt it. If they say it, it's true." I'll repeat that. If I say it, they tend to doubt it. If they say it, it's true. So how do we get them to say it? Because if they say it, it's true. And the way you do that is by asking really, really good questions. And that's how you create separation between where they are now and where they want to be. Let me give you a quick example. So a good example of this is with a doctor. If you think about a doctor, what do doctors do when you come into the office? They ask questions. All right. So let's say the doctor is going to help somebody with knee pain. Okay. And someone has excruciating knee pain, they come into the office. The doctor can ask a question. "Hey, so you have knee pain?" "Yes, I have knee pain." Or he could say, "What brings you in today?" The person says, I have a lot of knee pain right now." "Gosh, okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the knee pain?" That creates a little bit more of a gap. Just asking that one question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the knee pain? "Oh, it's like an 8, man. It really hurts." "Got you. What have you tried in the past to help you with this knee pain?" That creates more separation, right? Because now you're bringing up in their mind, they're thinking of all the things that they've tried to help them with the knee pain, right? So the guy goes, not much has worked. Really just taking these pills to help me with the pain." "Oh, you're taking those pills. Got you. How has that been?" "I don't really like the pills, man. They keep me up at night. Can't really sleep. Not a big fan. I wish I could get off these things." That creates more separation, right? So as you ask questions, there's more and more separation, right? And as you get better at sales, you understand how to take them through this journey of questions to get them to really think about the goal, which in this example that I'm giving you would be a life without knee pain. So maybe you ask, what did you use? Did you play sports before you had the knee pain? Yeah, I was golfing a lot." "Have you been able to golf since you've had this knee pain?" No, I haven't been able to golf, man." "Got you. So if we could get the knee feeling better, would you be back out on the course?" I would definitely be back out on the course. So now you're not just selling knee pain, you're not just helping them solve that problem, but you're figuring out what actually matters to them by asking these questions, which you wouldn't know what matters to them unless you ask these questions. And this is going to motivate them to make an empowered decision for themselves, because those are the things that motivate them, or those internal beliefs, right? So if you can figure out those things by asking great questions, you're going to create this amazing gap here between where they are now and where they want to be. And now the last part of sales, so this is really the majority of the sales conversation, is discovery and figuring out where they are, making sure you can help, and figuring out that your solution is right for them. But then the last part of sales is when you have this gap here, what are you going to do with it? You're going to fill it in. You're going to bridge the gap with whatever your offer is. Okay. So your service is, let's say the knee pain, let's say it's a doctor and it's not covered by insurance, but he's going to do stem cell therapy on your knee. And he knows the stem cell therapy can help you and it can heal your knee, right? If he builds up enough pain, you'll pay whatever it takes to get your knee feeling better if he does it the right way, right? Because the doctor is going to continue to ask questions and continue to ask questions, and you're going to feel like there is no other way. Whatever this guy has, I'm buying it because I've tried everything already and I want to go golf again, and et cetera, right? So if you just ask enough questions, then all you need to do is say, listen, this is the solution for you. I know this can help you based on what you just told me. I know that this is the right thing for you. Here's how it works. And you can just give a simple explanation. This is where most people screw up the sales process, is they give too much or they get too technical with their solution and they talk too much about the features, and they'll go from asking these good questions to now just pitching super hard. And I heard someone, I don't remember who said it, but someone once called it an anvil drop. So if you remember like those cartoons where like the anvil just drops out of the sky and hits somebody, right? It's like that when you just, all of a sudden you're asking all these questions, all of a sudden you just start talking for 5 minutes straight about what your offer is. That's not how you want to do it. You want to keep it conversational and present your offer in a very calm way. Like, okay, so you're telling me you've tried this, you've tried that, you've tried this. I really think that regenerative medicine or stem cell therapy would be right for you. Do you want me to kind of explain what that would look like? Yeah, I want you to explain what that would look like. Cool. So you know how this is this, and you can do your pitch with questions. And I'm kind of making this example up off the top of my head. I never sold stem cell therapy, so I don't know how to pitch that. But you would come up with a very simple explanation of your product or of your service as your pitch. And it should not be confusing, because a confused mind does not ever buy. So make it very, very simple and keep it conversational. Keep it going with all the things that they just told you in the question asking. Okay. So this is the first part of the training. First part is understanding what the essence of sales is, which is taking someone from their current state, finding out what their desired future is, creating separation between those two things from where they are now to where they want to be, and then filling in and bridging the gap with your solution, with your service. All right. So that's the essence of sales. All right. And now what I'm going to show you next is a framework that you can use that will help you do this. Okay. So here's a simple framework that has really, really helped me. It's 4 steps. Okay. So the first step is to take control. The second step is to ask questions and listen. The third step is to explain your solution simply. The fourth step is to close. Okay. Those are the steps. If you just stay on this track, and I like frameworks better than scripts because conversations usually need to be dynamic. They're not going to be the same every single time. So it's better to just have an idea of the framework that you need to follow in order to do what I showed you before, where you're creating separation and filling in the gap with your solution. In order to do that, you're going to use this framework in your sales conversations. All right. So step 1 is to take control. And to take control is where you are the authority, and this will allow you to get the ability to ask questions. If you think about the doctor's office, when someone goes into the doctor's office, they're respecting the doctor. The doctor's already the authority. So the doctor can just start asking questions right when they come in, right? If you're having a conversation and you're selling a different type of service and you don't have the authority when someone comes to you, it's very hard to get into that question asking stage, right? So taking control sets the rest of the conversation up for success. If you never take control, you're never going to be able to do the rest of it. And it's going to be very, very, very hard to close the deal. Okay. So how do you do that? It's just simple. You set the agenda, right? And usually you can do this by letting them know that you still need to figure out if you can help, right? You just say, I'm not really sure if I can help yet. I want to figure out a little bit more about your situation. So usually how how this conversation goes is I'll just ask you a few questions to get to know what's going on. That sound good? Right? If you say something similar to that, you can easily take control of the conversation. Okay. And now they're going to be open to you asking questions, and then you can get into your questioning. So taking control, it's the shortest step, but it's very, very important. So make sure that you do not screw this step up. It is the shortest, but it's also the most overlooked. And a lot of people have trouble with this stage, and then the rest of the conversation goes horrible, and they think it's their discovery, and they think it's, you know, their pitch, and they think it's the objection handling, but it's usually not. If they just never took control of the conversation in the first place, that will probably be where the weakness was. Okay. So number one, take control. Number two is where you're going to ask questions and listen. And this is probably where 60-70% of the conversation should be, is in discovery, is in asking questions and listening, uncover their problems and their desires. And usually you're going to start with open-ended questions to do this. So what made you decide to come in today? That's an open-ended question that will get them to tell you what's going on, right? So you usually start more open-ended, and then as you go, you kind of get into more closed questions, okay, and closed questioning. But really what you're trying to do is uncover their problems first, and what has what has happened, what have they tried to solve, the desire that they have, or whatever the problem that they have, right? Like, what have they tried in the past? What hasn't worked? What has worked? Then you're going to figure out what their desires are, what their goals are, what they're trying to do, right? And this is all just asking questions and creating that gap like we talked about. Okay. After you ask questions, and if you find out that you can help them, because this is where this is a big problem with sales, is people try to sell people things that they don't need. Make sure you're not doing that. That's the real reason you're asking questions, is to find out if you can actually help them and if your service is actually good for them. And if it's not, then you're going to let them know, hey, listen, this is not right for you. I'm not going to be able to, this isn't going to be right for you. This isn't a good solution for you. You should go try this thing over here. This is not, what we do here is not a good fit for what you do. Right. And if that's the truth, then that's the truth. And that's how you should sell. You should be an ethical salesperson. Okay. But if you can help them, if you find out in the questions and discovery that you can help them and your solution is perfect for them, then you're going to simply explain your solution. And you're going to keep the explanation simple and about them and their desires that you just found out in discovery. And you're going to stay super focused on the vacation and not the flight. So stay focused on the goal that they have and explain why each feature of your product relates back to the goal that they have, right? So that is very, very important. And the flight would be, if I were to talk about the flight, I'd be talking about all the features of my product, and I'd be pitching my product like crazy, talking about all the technical stuff in my product. And if you do that, you're going to confuse them. And I've said it before, a confused mind does not buy. So keep it very, very simple, keep it in layman's terms, and stay very focused on the goal that they have and how your solution can help them get to that goal. That's the vacation. Okay. And then after you explain the solution is the closing stage. And this is where you're handling any objections they have by asking questions and guiding them to the finish line. And the big important thing with the closing stage, in my opinion, is to just be on their side of the table. Okay. Don't sit on the opposite side of the table. Be on their side of the table. Be working on the same team. You're trying with sales, especially if you're selling a good service that you believe in, you're trying to get them to make an empowered decision that's going to help them, right? That's what you're trying to do. So don't be adversarial if they have an objection. Just try to understand where they're coming from and sit on their side of the table and try to help them find a solution that can allow them to have the service, right? So just as long as you're super curious when they have an objection, and you're on their team, and you let it be known that you're on their team, and you just ask, dig a little deeper and try to help motivate them to make a good decision, they'll feel that you're on their team, and you'll close so many more deals by just simply doing that. Okay. So this is the framework. Take control, ask questions and listen, simply explain the solution, and closing stage, handle objections. Okay. The last thing we're going to go over in this sales training is sales mindset, which is probably the most important thing. Like most things in life, sales is a mental game. If you want to be able to persuade people to make a purchase, then you need to have a winning mindset. So I've come up with 3 keys that will help you have a winning mindset when you're doing your sales conversations. Key number 1, conviction. Key number 2, be more interested than interesting. Key number 3, it's a numbers game. Okay, conviction is number 1, and it is the number 1 rule of sales. Have conviction, have belief in your product or your service. I remember once Tom Hopkins, who is probably one of the best sales minds of all time, someone asked him at a conference of his if he could sell any product, if he thinks he could sell any product or any service. And he immediately was just like laughing, pretty much like, no, not a chance. Because if I don't believe in it, I can't sell it, right? He's not an unethical salesperson. So you need to have belief in your service or your product. And if you don't, it's going to be very, very difficult to sell it. Okay. Now you can always make up for a lack of skills with an abundance of conviction. If you have a ton of belief, you don't have to be the most skilled salesperson there is, right? You can probably outsell a lot of other people by just believing in the product or the service more. I've seen this happen time and time again. Okay. And this is probably because people buy on emotion and they justify with logic. So they need to trust you. And that comes from how you make them feel. If you make them feel good, if there's that feeling, when you feel like someone is a manipulative person, when you feel like this person's just not that good. This person's kind of sleazy. He makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't really want to buy from this person. But you also know when someone makes you feel warm and they make you feel like they're your friend and they make you feel like you just immediately trust them. If you can make someone feel like that, then you can get them to buy because they will buy on emotion, right? And a lot of this comes from just believing wholeheartedly that your service is right for them. Okay. And it just comes down to conviction. If you can transfer your energy and belief to another person, they will feel it. So a really good shift to make is to go from making people believe what you say to instead making people believe that you believe what you're saying. Subtle shift in words, but huge difference, right? Make people believe that you believe what you're saying. Don't just try and make them believe what you're saying. But if you believe it, if you're certain, they're going to feel that certainty. And the more certain person always influences the less certain person. Really, really important. Okay, now a few ways to help you with conviction. First thing is to understand that every business and every product has flaws. No person is perfect. No business is perfect. So accept your flaws for what they are, and then go out there and be talking to your clients frequently, embracing feedback. As long as you know you're working on your flaws, you're going to feel good about it still. It won't affect your conviction because we're getting better every day. We're working on the product every day. We're working on the service every day. We're talking to our clients. We're embracing feedback. We're going the extra mile for them. If you know that, then you're going to feel good about your product. You're going to feel good about your service. So make sure you're doing that. Another thing that can help is using the service that you promote. If you can, use the service that you promote, because if you're a user of it, you're going to have more conviction naturally about it, right? If you're a user of it, you have more conviction naturally. And then another thing is to look at your 5-star reviews, look at your testimonials, look at the things that you have of people raving about your product, raving about your service. If you have those things, read them before you get into a sales conversation. Read those 5-star reviews. Remind yourself of who you guys are. Remind yourself of how good you are. Build up your conviction, right? If you're ever feeling down or you're ever not really feeling like you have a lot of belief, go see your past results, see your past success, use that to your advantage. Okay. And all these things will help you build up your conviction. Second thing to help you with mindset is be more interested than interesting. Diagnose, don't sell, right? I talked about the doctor example earlier. Make sure you're not pitching, right? And a good mindset shift, and I remind myself of this before every single conversation I have, is if I start to put pressure on myself and I'm like, I got to make this sale, I immediately catch that. I catch that thought and I change it. Instead of saying I have to make this sale or I have to get this person to say yes, I say, can I help this person? The point of this call is to find out if I can help this person. That is it. And that relieves all the pressure. Now there's no pressure to make the sale. The call or the conversation is all about figuring out if I can help them. It's just about diagnosing. It's about asking questions and figuring out if I can help. And if I can't help, I genuinely tell them that I can't help them. Okay, that is very, very important. So shift from going for the sale to accurate diagnosis. Now, to win the sale, you want to care more about the buyer than the buyer cares about themselves. Super, super important thing. To do this, you have to actively listen and ask questions and let them speak. Genuinely care about what they're saying. Be more interested than interesting. It's not about you. Drop your ego, leave your ego at the door before a sales conversation, and focus wholeheartedly 100% on the prospect. You will make way more sales. Another thing here, I mentioned this earlier, but if I say it, they tend to doubt it. If they say it, it's true. If I say it, they tend to doubt it. If they say it, it's true. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Be asking questions and actively listening for at least 66% of the conversation. For 2/3 of the conversation, you should be listening and not talking. Very, very, very important. Okay? Get comfortable with silence and use it to your advantage. Ask a question and shut up and respect the person who's answering the question and listen to them and continue to listen to them until they're done. And when they answer a question, let the prospect sit with the pain of the problem they're trying to solve. So when they answer something, if they're talking about something that they're going through or something that's painful, it's okay to be silent. It's okay to not have a response immediately. Just let them sit with it. That will build up more of that gap like we talked about earlier. Okay? The last thing here for sales mindset is that it is a numbers game. Fall in love with no, and you will realize that each no brings you closer to a yes. And when you get good at sales, conversations lead to conversions. So the more conversations you have, the more conversions you get. Understand regression toward the mean. Okay? Regression toward the mean is if you, all right, so what are the odds that a coin lands on heads or tails? It's 50%, right? But even though it's 50%, if you flip a coin 10 times, is it going to be 5 times land on heads, 5 times land on tails every single time? Is it just going to alternate heads, tails, heads, tails? No. It might do heads, 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 heads. It might do 9 heads in a row. Sometimes it happens, right? But what regression toward the mean is eventually it'll equal out to 50%. Eventually the statistics and your conversion rate will eventually even out. So what you need to do, because sometimes if you're doing a lot of sales conversations, it's very easy to get negative if you have, let's say you have 5 conversations in a row and they're all no's, 10 conversations in a row and they're all no's. It's very easy to get negative and get lost in there. And then you get into a slump. What you want to do is you want to zoom out and look at not just 10 calls, not just 10 conversations, but the last 50, the last 100, and that'll give you the real numbers, right? So understand regression toward the mean, be able to zoom out and be able to reset before each conversation that you have. Very, very important. Make sure to not drag emotions from previous conversations into current ones. This can happen subconsciously. So reset before every single conversation you have and zoom out and look at the numbers on a real sample size before jumping to conclusions. All right, guys. So to recap, the 3 mindset things: conviction, be more interested than interesting. It's a numbers game. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you've made it this far, that is a wrap for this training video. If you can, show me some love, hit the subscribe button down below, and I can make more videos like this for you. Also, if you are trying to get more sales and more opportunities to make sales, I made another video called How to Always Get Leads. Make sure you check that video out, and that will help you get more leads so you can get more appointments, so you can make more sales with the training that I just gave you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Talk to you in another training.